Oh, um, hello everyone and hello world. I am Corina McBride from US Challenge 2050 class, and I'm here today to talk to you about tools assessment number 1. Now, Miss Dana, I know this is a little late, and I'm very sorry for that, but I I hope that you appreciate the creativity that went in behind this, and I hope you enjoy it. So for our tools assessment number 1, I'm going to be talking about the tools that we learned in class. Now, I know that a lot of people say, I'm a great person, I'm a great professional. They say that about themselves. But in reality, nobody's perfect. Everyone needs help. So these tools that we're learning throughout class, throughout life, throughout the world, everyone needs to know them, and they're such great tools that no matter who you are, even the president, you still need some help and um, definition for these tools. So I picked a couple tools. I know they're not ones that we talked about specifically in class, but there's stuff addressed in class and that we get through, although we don't talk about it. So one thing that's really important to me is communication, and we talked a little bit about communication in class. Being able to sit down word for word, like I'm doing here, and have a conversation is very important in the business world. But more than that, letters and written communication is becoming more and more important with technology and emails and texting. However, that just makes every face-to-face conversation you have that much more meaningful because they're rare. You don't see them very often, and so when you do have a chance to speak to a CEO or president of a company, you need to make sure that you get in there and get your point across and get out. One of my problems with communication is that sometimes I may come off as a know-it-all and may seem to others like what they're saying is not important, and because I've already talked about it and I already know what's going on, I do a lot of head nodding. And this Challenge 2050 class has allowed me to meet other people with different opinions that I really appreciate because now I have new perspectives. But it's also given me many opportunities to reassess my communication habits and my responsive habits to form them into the best they can be. I don't like putting people down, and I don't like making people feel like what they have to say is inferior to what I say. So I need to work on my communication skills as one of my tools, because I want everyone to know that their value and their opinion is just as important than the next person. And just because you've never been out of the state or don't read books doesn't mean that what you have to say doesn't matter. I need to work on focusing in and realizing that other people have taken a lot of energy to form this thought, like introverts and extroverts, and that what they have to say matters too. And I believe that's really important. So that would be one of my weaknesses for communication. Another one of my weaknesses for communication has to be another weakness of mine in the communication field has to be my creativity, I think. And it's really hard to strip down creativity and put it into a more professional scientific category. As we move forward into the 21st century with innovation and design, like A Whole New Mind talks about, we are becoming to appreciate creativity in society, but everyone that's going to be hiring, everyone that you're writing to, is still all about, format and being specific and scientific and not necessarily uncreative, but they just don't have that appreciation for that yet. And I need to work on refining my writing skills so that way they're concise, clear, to the point, and offer a little bit of creativity, but not an overwhelming amount. A third problem with my communication is in relationships of mine, I have problems telling people how I feel, specifically about me and my emotions. And I can tell people how I feel about opinions and about, pieces of information or stories, but something that I struggle with for me and that I always have struggled with is being able to tell one significant other person, hey, I'm struggling in this, or, I don't really feel comfortable talking about this. Um, it may seem kind of strange because I'm really loud and outgoing, but I would say that that's a communication strength of mine, which I also need to work on. My communication strengths would have to be I am loud and outgoing. I can talk just about anything, and that I can write pretty well. And in using these strengths and weaknesses, I would like to step forward into my next journey and use them to change the world. My writing may not be scientific, it may not be, emotional, but hopefully it'll put in a new perspective and it'll make a change. I want people to realize that, the world isn't going to end, that we can help mitigate these problems. We may not be able to solve them, but we can definitely lessen their impact. And I want people to know that it's okay if we don't know what's going on. Just, communicate and talk to one another and get the idea out there. Start the conversation. That's crucial in this world. And we just really need to get people to start talking instead of just sitting back and letting things fly over their heads. So that is my skill of communication. My next skill is open-mindedness. I have a lot of opinions, and I have seen a lot of things, and I try to educate others about the things that I've seen, but often it comes off that I am racist or judgmental or really crude. I say things about people's family members dying, or I make a lot of Asian comments, and I really don't want to be referred to as that person that can't control, who they say are the white fascist. I have friends of all different races, and I'm proud of that, and I love them for who they are and their culture and their background, but sometimes I feel the need to bring that up a little bit more than necessary, and I think that if I can focus on that and address it, I can definitely speak to a lot more people and a lot more communities in this growing age. And being able to talk to diverse audiences and diverse communities means so much, because today in our global networking society, we are not just the United States, we are Earth. We are every country. We're China, we're India, we're Brazil, we're everything together. And we need to learn how to work with those different people and communicate with those different people. Another weakness about my open-mindedness is sometimes I'm a little too quick to judge. And I know that we were talking about that in communication and first impressions and how do you view people. And sometimes society wants us to be quick to judge. Like someone pointing a gun at you, you're worried about getting shot. You judge them. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm in danger. I'm going to do something to fix this. Or, the whole like sketchy person on the bus. Oh, they look a little sketchy. I'm going to avoid them. It's really hard to be open-minded and be accepting and not judge a book by its cover when society so often tells us to be wary of those people who aren't like us and who don't act like us and may look a little different because they could be the ones that hurt us. So I think taking that step and assessing my open-mindedness towards other people would be really crucial in the world of 2050 and all of our problems, because we're going to have to talk to people of all backgrounds, and it's really important that they get the same, love and devotion that we would devote our own children. Another weakness for my third and final weakness for my open-mindedness has to be the fact that I am very for the environment, and I'm really just about environmental issues and concerns, and sometimes people will say things that they don't mean, or sometimes they do mean it in regards to the environment and not knowing what's going on or just having an opinion. And sometimes I'm too quick to judge in that, and I just dismiss them as a person, and I'm like, oh, you're a Republican, or, oh, well, you're stupid. No, I don't do that. But, that feeling that, like, these people are different than us, and they believe something different, and so that makes them wrong. I think I could work on that. Strengths about open-mindedness, however, I feel like my strengths are the same as my weakness. How I'm really good at talking to people and just being out there and connecting with people on different levels. I think that's really important for the next progression of our society. And just being able to step back and take a moment in other people's shoes. I tend to do that well. I have a lot of problems and a lot of mental issues, and I can definitely relate to a lot of these issues that people talk about. And I hope that people feel comfortable speaking to me, and that they feel that I have an open mind and that they can approach me and tell me anything, because in our next society, we need to have people that are open to everyone, that are open to all thoughts and walks and, types of lifestyles and personalities. And we really need to be able to express those traits and do them efficiently. And I think we are not meeting that criteria right now as a society and as a nation. We should focus on that. And my third tool that we have discussed in class, not necessarily straight on, but just more about how the class is run, how it's your opinion and your idea, and it's take it out, you want it, So my third tool would be creativity. And I would like to say that sometimes as a weakness, I'm too creative, and I create these goals and these plans that are unrealistic and unachievable, and I just get so gung-ho, and sometimes I have to, step back and realize that my head's in the clouds and my feet aren't on the ground, and that I need to reevaluate my situation and my surroundings. That's definitely a downfall of creativity. Another one is being so creative that other people don't understand, or taking a metaphor too far, for example. People are like, well, you have to explain that metaphor to me using another metaphor and a little bit of a stretch of a personal, story. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, but that's just how my brain thinks. So being over creative and not having people understand me. You have to be creative enough, but not so creative that you're weird, or that, you're cast aside. So innovative creativity is important. But strange creativity just to be creative and, get attention drawn to you is something totally different, and that needs to be differentiated, especially in my life. My third weakness for creativity would probably have to be sometimes not being creative enough, where I go back to the box too many times, and I'm like, I like my four little walls, and I like what exists in society and what's institutional, and, it works, and sometimes I refer back to that too much, and, I need to readjust and reevaluate and look at some other creative efforts around the world. So that could be seen as a weakness. Strengths in creativity, however, are I use a lot of colors and a lot of different shapes to define different situations, and I believe that art and colors and shapes and speaking through creativity has so much power, because it's not a language. It's its own self-speaking language. Everyone understands art, and no one understands it at the same time. You don't have to be born in, Lithuania to understand it, or, be from Brazil to understand art, Just like you don't have to be, people from America speak English, and people from Africa speak French, and, there's a difference. But art can cross all borders. And so in Challenge 2050, I think that art is really important in creativity and colors, because they can help express feelings and express emotions that wouldn't normally be able to be interpreted by different languages, like lost in translation, that whole concept. So I think being creative and thinking outside the box can really draw more people in and solve more problems in the future because more people can relate. And I feel like we're moving into that era of creativity, and which we are not educated in, and so we need to start promoting that. Another strength of mine that I love about creativity is it just makes things work. You know, creativity is net zero houses. You see them all the time, you know, way, way insulated, but they don't require any heat in the winter and any air conditioning in the summer. That's so creative and it solves so many problems. So I think that I am well endowed in thinking in that regard because I can see things for what they can become, not what they are at the moment. And that leads me into my very last strength, which is resourcefulness. So a lot of things in 2050, like resources and energy, will be depleted, and we will have to turn to other sources for these needs. And I think people should be resourceful and you know, take what they have and use it and turn it into something else that can be used for something more important than its original use, like a toilet paper tube. How many things you can do with the toilet paper tube besides just recycle it? So many things. And I think my resourcefulness in life and how I've been through my life and, you know, using like a paperclip for a fishing hook can definitely relate to the year 2050 because we're going to have to be able to think on our feet and think in the field and be able to come up with quick, low cost, low, you know, input resources and substitutes that can take the place of these systems that really need change. So I think in my open-mindedness, my creativity, and my communication have all become strengthened through this class and through talking to people from different disciplines in different areas. And these have been able to enhance my life because now I can view it a little bit differently, and I know what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are, so that way I can, you know, set aside time and say, okay, I need to address this, this, and this, and then I can move forward from there. And Challenge 2050 has done that for me, and I would really like to say thank you, and I cannot thank you enough for all the opportunities that you've given me. So I hope you enjoyed my tool assessment, and welcome to my little toolbox. This is Corina McBride signing off for you. Farewell and good wishes.